They laughed before I even finished standing up. Not the polite kind, not the nervous kind, the kind that tells you the room has already decided who you are. The kind that says, "We know where you're from, and you don't belong here." I remember thinking, wow, I didn't even get a sentence out, and in that moment, with every eye on me and every phone pointed my way, I understood something very clearly. This wasn't about what I knew. It never was. It was about who they thought I was allowed to be. Let me rewind a bit. That night was supposed to be harmless, a public lecture-free entry open to the community. One of those events universities love to put on so they can say, "Look how accessible we are." I almost didn't go. I had worked all day, my head was fried, and honestly, places like that usually make me feel small. But I went anyway, sat in the back, took notes, listened. I've always done that, stay quiet. Observe, learn, keep my head down. You learn early that speaking up can cost you. The speaker was famous in his field. Arrogant, but in a way people excuse because he's brilliant. He talked about an unsolved problem, something people had been stuck on for generations. He said it with this smug smile like he enjoyed reminding everyone how impossible it was. And then he opened the floor for questions. I hesitated. My hand hovered. My heart was pounding for no logical reason. I wasn't planning to challenge him, just ask something simple, something honest. I finally stood up, and before I could even finish my first sentence, he interrupted me, looked me up and down, smirked, said, "This problem has defeated the greatest minds alive. I doubt you've discovered something the rest of us missed." The room laughed, loud. I felt my face burn. You know that heat that crawls up your neck when you realize you're being humiliated publicly. Part of me wanted to disappear. Another part of me wanted to scream. Instead, I did something I still don't fully understand. I stayed standing. I said calmly, "I think everyone's been asking the wrong question." That's when it changed. He scoffed. Literally scoffed. Told me I was confusing philosophy with real work. Said this wasn't a classroom and he didn't have time for distractions. Then he waved his hand like you'd shoo a fly and told security to move on. And here's the thing that still makes my chest tighten when I think about it. He never asked my name. Never asked what I studied. Never asked why I thought what I thought. He didn't see a person. He saw an interruption. Someone else spoke up then. An older professor, quiet until that moment. He said, "If you're so confident she's wrong, why not let her explain?" The room went quiet. Not supportive quiet. Curious quiet. The kind where people are hoping for a train wreck. The famous professor smiled. Not a kind smile, a trap smile. He said, "Fine. You have 10 minutes. Come up here, explain it to everyone. When you fail, we move on." I knew exactly what he was doing. 10 minutes to explain months of thought. No notes, no preparation. In front of hundreds of people and a live stream. If I failed, I wouldn't just be wrong. I'd be the example. Proof that people like me overestimate themselves. I walked up anyway. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped the marker. The countdown clock behind me started ticking. 10 minutes. I took a breath and started by reframing the problem. Not solving it. Reframing it. Explaining what everyone had been assuming and why that assumption might be flawed. He interrupted constantly. "That's not math. You're stalling. Get to the point." I ignored him. I talked about boundaries. About how some problems don't live fully in one category or another but in the space between. About how sometimes you don't need a solution, yet you need a door. Something that tells you where to look next. And slowly the room shifted. People leaned forward. Phones stopped recording and started calculating. The laughter didn't come back. When the clock hit 0, I hadn't solved it. I never claimed I had. But I'd shown something new, something real. The professor was cornered now. He couldn't laugh it off anymore, so he did something worse. He smiled and said, "Interesting. If you're so confident, come back in 1 week with a full proof. We'll evaluate it properly." 1 week, with conditions stacked so high they were almost insulting. No revisions. 1 mistake, and it's over. 5 judges. Most of them people he trained. People who owed him their careers. It was a rigged game dressed up as fairness. That week nearly broke me. I barely slept. Ate when I remembered. My apartment floor disappeared under notebooks and loose pages. Friends tried to help by asking simple questions, the kind that expose holes you didn't know were there. My family worried, told me I didn't owe anyone this. But I did owe myself something. I owed myself the chance to not walk away quietly. The night of the evaluation, the room was packed beyond capacity. People standing in the aisles, cameras everywhere. I handed out my proof, heart pounding, and started walking through it step by step. 90 minutes in, I felt it. Something was wrong. A page was missing. Not the whole proof. One critical section, gone. A printing error. The worst kind of mistake. The kind that doesn't care how hard you worked. He seized on it immediately. Said the proof was incomplete, that this was exactly what happens when enthusiasm outpaces ability. He asked the panel to end it right there. I asked for 10 minutes. He laughed, said I was making excuses. I picked up the marker anyway. Rebuilding something under pressure is different than explaining it calmly. Your brain works differently. You see cracks faster. You make choices on instinct. Halfway through, someone pointed out a flaw, a real one, and for a second I thought it was over. Then I remembered why I started. I erased part of the board, took a different route. A messier one, but stronger. When I finished, the room was silent. The judges left to deliberate. When they came back, the famous professor tried to move the goalposts, said something this important needed months of review. But another judge revealed something unexpected. They'd already sent my work to outside experts, quietly, in real time. The responses were on the screen. No errors found. Novel approach. Worth publication. I looked at the professor and asked him one question. Have you read the entire proof? He didn't answer at first, then he said no. That was it. Not a victory speech, not a mic drop, just clarity. He had decided who I was before he read a word. The panel accepted the work. The room exploded. Cheers, arguments, disbelief. I just stood there exhausted. People call it a win, and maybe it was. But what stays with me isn't the applause. It's the fact that I had to be flawless under impossible pressure just to be heard. How many people never get that chance? So, I'll ask you this. Have you ever watched someone be dismissed before they spoke? Have you ever been that person? Do you think this system rewards truth or comfort, talent or familiarity? Tell me what you think in the comments. I want to know where you stand.